Welcome back to the Hit the Books channel. This is going to be something of a brief, kind of hybrid week one review, week two preview of sorts, but it's going to be streamlined. I'm going to take a look at three advanced box scores, not the traditional ESPN shit that your dad would care about, but the actual analytics-based stuff that we now have available, free, accessible for any game out there, and this shit makes a huge difference. So, three games, real quick. I think, like a lot of people, pushed money around in week 0/week 1. It was a very strange week with the steam getting smoked in general. Brad Powers, fellow Hit the Books contributor, had some really good numbers that he tweeted out as far as where you would have been had you blindly gotten 3 points or more of CLV, both before the move and after the move. And even getting it before the move, you still would have been underwater. So it was a really strange week, although I do think it leads into a bigger point, not one I'd want to get into right now, because I don't have the numbers in front of me and I would sound like I'm just pulling shit out of my ass. But a lot of the CLV or a lot of the steam you're seeing during the week, really the last couple of years of college football, it's not organic. It's not how it used to be, quote unquote, where, you just had a lot of people on one side and that volume of action kind of organically generated and the line would move with that. No, this is contrived, manufactured, whatever you want to call it. It's a guy or a group says, this is the play. And all at once, all these people kind of pile on the play, and that's moving the line. Now, how big of an edge do these people or these groups have? Well, that's going to vary quite a bit by person, but these like 2.5, 3-point moves early in the week, especially when there's not much liquidity in the market, I would not put much stock in those at all, quite frankly. And especially if you're a person who already has a little bit of an edge, to be given 2.5, 3 points, like that's huge if you like the side opposite that manufactured steam. So again, I don't want to get too in the weeds on that. It's a controversial topic. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now to support it. So I want to take a look at three box scores, which kind of play into where I'm a little bit of where I'm at for next week. So two different sites, and I've mentioned both of these before many times on Twitter. Every time I tweet out a box from this is the one site, Game on Paper, someone says, where's that from? I tweet the Game on Paper link. This site is unbelievably valuable. I'm on it every day. It's so unique. There's stuff that they can pull. They're just pulling. I don't understand the scripts and all that stuff, but they're essentially just pulling from play-by-play data, but they're spitting out some really unique metrics. And then the other site, in a similar fashion, I think they also pull from play-by-plays, collegefootballdata.com. I use them primarily for their post-game win expectancies. You can also find those through Bill Connolly at S&P. His formula is different, and oftentimes the numbers can differ a little bit, but you'll generally see a fluky game will be a fluky game at both of those sites, both at College Football Data and through Bill. But anyway, first one I wanted to look at. All right, this game feels like it was 2-3 goddamn weeks ago at this point, but this was allegedly this was a Thursday night game. Minnesota, Nebraska. Yeah, you see it. 95% post-game win expectancy for Nebraska. And the conventional wisdom going into the season is Minnesota without Mo Ibrahim and with a more, I would say, volatile quarterback replacing the high floor, low ceiling Tanner Morgan, that they would lean a little bit more pass heavy than they have in years past. And that turned out to be true. They did throw the ball a lot more, but they had zero explosiveness. And part of that was because Chris Autman-Bell, their sixth-year guy, coming back from a torn ACL. In 2022, he led the entire country. Minnesota receiver led the entire country in yards per route run, which is to me, the best stat for measuring explosiveness for a receiver. Played one play against Nebraska, couldn't go. Flex said, we're kind of taking it day by day. I think he's out for a while. Without him, yeah, this offense is in serious trouble, especially as Kalimakis is just a little bit too erratic right now. But these, yeah, we'll go to this is the Game on Paper box, but you can see Nebraska 75% success rate, 75th percentile success rate, but then you have a 12th percentile EPA per play. So what does that mean? It's a very, very similar situation to what you saw tonight with the Duke Clemson game. This is being recorded Monday night. I didn't watch Clemson Duke, but I saw some reactions and I just went through the box. Same type of issue where you have 4 turnovers, but the team was moving the ball, probably outplayed the opponent, but they lost. And you're going to get a lot of this in college football. It's just such a high variance sport. And now, with on average fewer plays per game, you're going to see even more volatility because you just have fewer plays for the variance to flatten out or even out. So this was a game. I don't think there's anything you can take away from Minnesota that was positive, quite frankly. I think they got lucky with the turnovers, and Nebraska just shooting itself in the foot, which is, of course, at this point, a long-term endemic problem with the Nebraska program. But Nebraska outplayed them. There's no question about that. So it leads into this week with Minnesota hosting Eastern Michigan. And Chris Creighton, in the, I believe, 9 years he's been there, 20-10 ATS as a dog of 7 or more. They've pulled, in recent years, some really big outright upsets. Including last year, they won at Arizona State as a 20-point dog, and they won at Kent State as a 12.5 point dog. He's really a coach who plays to the competition, which is what I said last week when they played Howard, laying whatever it closed at 21.5, 22, and that game was fairly close. Howard, again, arguably played them even if you look at some of the boxes. But these are two teams who kind of play to the competition. Fleck is a favorite, is utter dog shit. You can look those numbers up too. So you have two teams who tend to play very tight games. I grabbed the 21 at Bookmaker a few hours after release on Sunday night. It wasn't an opener per se. Bookmakers limits are fairly respectable on Sunday night. I don't know if it's immediately after open, but at least a few hours they'll let you get down a good amount. I think it's the same as Circa. I think it's $3K per pop early on. So I did take 21 with EMU. I don't think that game is going to go past 21, but if it does, I would probably add a little bit to that EMU position. Second game, UConn, NC State. This one, again, didn't look like a blowout, but NC State utterly dominated this game. 98% post-game win expectancy. And the big number that jumped out here was the success rate, a 95th percentile success rate for NC State. They moved the ball at will, 61% of available yards, picked up 47 yards per drive. Even though they had pretty bad field position, they still moved the ball without much of an issue. This is an NC State offense with zero explosiveness. I think they had they had no explosive plays the entire game, which tough to do. They had nothing on the outside, but they still moved the ball without a problem, which tells me Georgia State, whose offense does have some explosiveness, a really dynamic quarterback in Derek Granger, they're going to be able to move the ball too, and they might actually hit a few explosives to complement it. But on the other side of the ball, Georgia State last week, I meant to have this box up too. I'll pull this one real fast while we're talking about it. Georgia State playing Rhode Island in a game that went back and forth. It looked like for a while Rhodey had a legit shot to pull a pretty big FCS over FBS upset. This is another one that was really misleading. Georgia State, 97% post-game win expectancy. They 51-43 in success rate, 56-40 success on standard downs here. Rhodey hit a bunch of explosive plays. I don't worry really about UConn hitting explosives. They had one big play in the NC State game, a long touchdown run by Victor Rosa. But if you take away their explosives, their EPA here was almost a -14 total EPA, which is just awful. So I don't see UConn taking advantage of Georgia State's really leaky pass defense. Quite frankly, the URI offense has a lot more pop than UConn's does. I just don't like UConn's quarterback situation right now with Fanano from Maine. Really kind of mediocre guy at Maine, and I don't see him translating particularly well to this level. I don't know how long he's going to be the quarterback. I don't know if they're going to pull him and go to one of the other guys. It was apparently a close competition in camp. So that's somewhat speculative. But yeah, I don't see UConn being able to exploit the Georgia State issues much at all. I took a pretty soft 3 Monday morning. Probably would have laid up to 4 on that, and we'll see where that one goes. I think there'll be some support for UConn, but just even putting aside these more subjective matchup factors, power ratings wise, I made this closer to a touchdown in favor of Georgia State. Third game. This one is not really helpful for this week. I don't expect to be involved with UNLV Bryant, but it caught my eye. I was surprised. 84% post-game win expectancy. So, okay, well, yes, sure, they should win the game. But it wasn't, you see a 30-point win, and usually the correlating post-game win expectancies for these are like 97 to 100%. 84, I was like, I was kind of low. I took a look at the box, and I tweeted this out. I was floored to see this game was like dead even in the box score. But Bryant fumbled 3 times. They lost all 3 of them. UNLV returned a kick to the 1. There were just a lot of fluky plays here, but you have Bryant, who's like a middling, slightly below average FCS team, ran up an 88% success rate, 88% on the road at UNLV. That is a big fucking red flag for the Rebels. And it's a team that I kind of liked last year when Doug Brumfield was healthy. They were pretty solid. But this has to be a huge concern for the defense. They're trying to play faster this year, the go-go Brennan Marion offense, and they were go-going. They didn't have the ball a whole lot. They only had 55 plays from scrimmage. For some reason, the time of possession isn't on here, but I think they only had like 22 or 23 minutes just because of the weird field position stuff that was going on. But their average starting field position was the 40. So this was a fluke. It wasn't a fluke in terms of final outcome. Yes, UNLV deserved to win the game, of course. But I do think it maybe highlights some potential issues moving forward with UNLV. Yeah, I said I wouldn't be involved, but if this thing dips below 35, I'd probably have to think about it. Michigan was sloppy in the ECU game. They really, you think they really should have won that by more. But maybe here's a chance to kind of, having worked out all those week 1 kinks, to really blow the doors off UNLV. But I thought that one was at least worth highlighting. But look, it's college football. I would recommend, if you haven't, if you're into this kind of stuff, dig through these sites. You're going to find some really cool shit on these two. The post-game win expectancies are unbelievably helpful. You're not going to find that on any mainstream type of source. And then the game on paper stats are as good as it gets as far as having access to free access. Incredible. I would pay a lot of money for this type of stuff. But dig through, I mean, any game, you're going to find something interesting. I just picked out 3 that caught my eye, but there's a boatload more that I wrote down and we'll keep track of. But hopefully, I'd like to do another video later in the week, go through some market movement, maybe interesting injury stuff. Ideally, that would probably be on Friday at some point. It'd be pretty quick. But the goal of these Monday videos is to review some stuff that you wouldn't see elsewhere from the previous week's games. So until then, this is the Hit the Books channel. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. We're going to get into the thick of it in the next week or two. It's going to feel like this stuff's really going to ramp up. So it's a great channel, a lot of good contributors, and hope you come back the next time. Take care.